see. I think Sue definitely is the first or second best player in this group, so I wouldn't be surprised if he breaks our wishes today, Tasteless, and makes it only 14 out of 16 players Protoss.
All right, here is our first player, Ruin, the underdog here, at least in this match.
Yeah, I would say so, but he has gotten just so much better in the last, like, well, in the last year, but, like, very specifically the last, like, 8 months. The improvement I've seen him has been amazing. He's actually a very good player now. He has very strong builds. I'm excited to see what he can do here today.
From IM here, a legendary team.
Indeed.
Old school for StarCraft II here, where the best of the best, most of the champions were coming from. But to go up against SOS, I mean, this is a pretty tall order. SOS, I'd say, is one of the brainiest StarCraft II players that there is.
Yeah, he's pretty darn cutting edge, and he's a very strong PvP player overall.
He just seems like one of these players that not only understands how the game works, but understands how his opponents see how the game works. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or their view of how the game operates, and is then able to go in there and put in a lot of false data about what he's doing, which is especially strong in a PvP. So, you know, there's a lot of red herrings in his builds, a lot of... he's very good at disguising his openings and his intentions. He'll sometimes make you think he's doing one thing and he's doing the exact opposite. And then the thing you either prepared for, the thing you prepared for in this case, it was a waste of resources, and he'll get ahead.
And, you know, that being said, and very well said, I might add, Tasteless, he does better against better players. The better and smarter his opponent is, the more powerful he looks. Because if you are, like, too far below him, you're not going to even know what he's doing. Your metagame might be behind his, and therefore his tricks don't work on you. But you give him, like, world-class guys, and he's just a baller.
He's made to destroy the best of the best.
Yes. Whereas someone a little bit lower, it's going to have a little bit harder time.
Well, because that person who's a little bit lower class might not understand the game as well as a top player. I mean, the tricks he's using would only work on the 0.0001% of you know, the best RTS players out there. I mean, he's really sneaky when it comes to a person of even intelligence to him.
But he's shown he can play standard as well. We'll see what he does today.
Certainly. Going into our second best of 3 here today, it is a PvP Ruin, our underdog against SOS. One of the best Protosses, one of the best players actually of all time, here at the GSL Code S.
Ruin versus SOS.
All right. Let's do it, Tasteless. See what these guys are up to. A few more zoom-ins. We should be set.
Well, Artosis. This is a PvP. This is one of the matchups that historically for you and I at GOM, we ended up casting the least. That's going to change by the end of this season. PvP, a very tricky matchup. A lot of ways that you can end it early. It's one of the matchups where, you know, you lose 1 or 2 units early on, and things can spiral out of control.
You know, this is actually the matchup, I believe, where there are more possible openers that are all good than probably any other matchup.
I'd say you're correct on that.
And let me think about that just for a second, because I'm pretty sure that's actually accurate. I mean, there's a lot of openers from Protoss in every matchup.
That's how Protoss have always operated, though. They've always had the most openers. They actually have to have a multitude of openers, or they would be weak, fundamentally.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of, like...
But PvP would probably have the most flexibility of that.
There's
depending
so
on
much.
Depending on the meta at the time. But, yeah, I mean, we've seen so many different openers. I'd say at times the end game can be in PvP a bit, perhaps the most limited. In a way, compared to some of the other matchups, but
it's not as bad as it once was, but definitely, you know what types of units you are going for, generally speaking. Let's see what these guys want to go for. Is anyone going to grab a second gate right away? You know, there are just so many different builds. Okay, both of them grabbing second gates, and that's actually very, very popular at the moment to get 2 gateways in this matchup. Just makes you a little bit more safe. and there's a lot of variety of what you can do with this. You can go into a 3-gate attack. You can go like into Blink. You can go into an Oracle. Oracle plus 3-gate, pretty popular. 3-gate Blink, pretty popular. Let's see here. Scouting at just the right time before any stalkers out. Completely mirrored, except for the fact that SOS got a little bit less gas.
And as they're both scouting each other, they're going to be together pretty quickly here as the stalkers are about to pop out. But from here, I think neither player's gained enough intel to really make him pick a very specific build, right? These builds are both pretty generic.
Yeah.
And pretty safe. And now we see a Twilight Council going down here for Ruin. And we're going to wait here and see from SOS what exactly the game plan is.
It's going to be either a Twilight or an Oracle. We'll see in just a second. I mean, I guess he could have looked at his opponent's build and said, this might be Blink and go Robo, but definitely not as common. Now, this is a nice scout by Ruin.
Yeah, look at this. He's going to get right in there.
Wow, but
there's really nothing that he's nothing to see here. Now, there was pylons all the way in the back, so he might still think that he missed out on the tech that he could have possibly seen. But really, so far from SOS, there's no real showing of what he's up to here. Blink just now starting here and being chronoed out.
Yeah, and so interesting, he is actually going right into a Robo. So, you know, there was a point in time where I would say, okay, so as far as builders go, SOS has the upper hand. He has Robotech against Blink Tech. But Blink is so versatile and so strong right now that I wouldn't say that completely. But I would say that SOS is in no way going to die.
All right, SOS now barreling forward here. Trying to target down probes, only gets one and triggers the Nexus Cannon, which is now backing up here.
Can't be too unhappy about this. He's scouted that there's a 3rd gate and Blink on the way. He's killed a probe, he's killed a Stalker, he's forced the Nexus Cannon. And look at this. It looks like probably counter Blink going to come up. So he's going to have Immortals to help stop the little rush. I would be surprised if he doesn't get at least one Immortal. But
the Immortal is just so strong.
Yeah, it just helps so much against Blink.
Yeah, it makes the other guy, it puts him in a spot where he's so hard for him to engage. So Ruin continuing to crank out Stalkers. And there we see our first Immortal coming, as we mentioned.
And he's going to be very, very safe with this. And you know what? I would say that this is going to be one of those funny games where anyone that takes a Nexus, they have to be very careful about that. Because if you're taking a Nexus, you're going to have a little bit less Blink Stalkers and possibly less Immortals as well. Which means that your opponent can just come over and kind of kill you if they have a little bit of a lead in that area.
And we see that pylon now being wiped out. Hidden pylon here for SOS. Which maybe they're just a spot, actually.
That's possible, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he's going to be warping an army from there.
I don't think he'll warp in, but he could hide something like DT Tech. That's a possibility.
That's certainly a possibility, yeah. I believe the pylon, though, abandoned, or the probe, excuse me, abandoned that pylon. But I guess he could send something down there later on. Now we have the Nexus coming up here for Ruin. And the same story here for SOS, a Nexus a little bit later.
Yeah, just slightly. Both players getting out some sentries now. That's really going to help out with scouting. You got to be careful with your observers. SOS is going to do a run-by with his observer to scout. And it looks like he's not going to be caught, so that's good. But you get that observer count that's 75 gas down the tubes.
So with SOS knowing exactly what's going on here, he's one of these players you should be able to respond basically perfectly.
It's very good scouting going on. And a second observer actually on the way for both players, so it's possible. No, it looks like Ruin's observer already kind of backing out a little bit. So these guys kind of ending up in the same spot, but I would actually put these guys at almost exactly the same place in this game. Because SOS, his next is a little bit later, but he had a couple more probes. Yeah, sure, his Robo was a little bit quicker, but he didn't go like non-stop Immortals out of it, so it's okay.
Looks like we had a late transfer there. Or I should say, ill-timed transfer there for the probes, so a little bit of inefficiency there. But now we have, both players, this is really starting to even out here.
And this is where
we actually go into proper mid-game and then into late game here. PvP. Nobody really did anything too dramatic early on. Hallucinated Phoenix is now used to scout because the observers are too valuable. to just send them all the way in. As long as those sentries are not being used, they'll fill up with energy, so you might as well make a fake Phoenix, send that out there to do your dirty work for you and figure out what's going on than ever risk having an observer get gunned down, since Robotech is so important in this matchup.
Yeah, if you actually don't go Stargate, you'll generally have 2 to 3 sentries whose main focus is just to scout your opponent nonstop with hallucinations. Like, you have to know when are they adding their gateways. Like, obviously you'll see that they do have a forge almost always. And are they going Colossus Tech, and are they making a Nexus? Those are the things that you're really, really looking for. And of course, anything really wonky and odd, such as, you know, grabbing a couple Stargates.
And we have the Stalkers actually coming up here. It looks like they are going to back away here.
Yeah, as
Ruin
long as
testing the waters here.
As long as he's always looking at them when they could be engaged, he can always get away with them, so that's good.
And that another Mortal now going to be coming out here for SOS. He's going to be very safe. We have Zealot legs being chrono boosted over here for Ruin. Ruin actually could be in some trouble here, taking some damage there on those Stalkers and backing out. And it looks like he wants to try to sneak into the main. I don't know if this is really worth it.
Well, I like what he's trying. I appreciate that he's like trying to hit 2 locations with his Stalkers at once, because as these supplies go higher and higher, as Charge is finishing up and more Immortals join the forces of each side, these Blink Stalkers become weaker and weaker as part of the composition. And so he's like trying to get any value he can out of them. And in the meantime, he is taking his 3rd base very quickly, whereas we see the 5 gates being added for SOS. So it looks like SOS is going to move down for a very powerful attack.
You know, the thing is, the combination of these two strats, though, the expansion with the Stalker asset, seems like it's going to be nearly impossible if Ruin loses even a few Stalkers here to survive SOS's timing.
Yeah,
right.
Without a doubt, SOS is going to be able to peak in units a little bit quicker because of these extra gateways. Let's not forget his upgrades are a little bit quicker too. So he might be able to hit a little timing here where he has a few more units and 1 additional attack upgrade that hasn't even been started for his opponent. And that could be really beneficial for him.
And that Phoenix actually not dying there. Is going to get in here and get, again, a very, very good idea of exactly what's going on here for SOS. His army's now gathering up even supplies, like dead even, 115 to 115.
But you do see that SOS's army supply going up a little bit quicker, 73 to 56 right now.
And now it looks like the offensive is going to start here from SOS. He's got the Archons. The Zealot leg upgrade just finished. It does appear that Ruin is now grouping up to try to get us into a defensive position.
You know what? This is... You can see that it just nonstop. We're seeing about between 10 and 20 supply lead for SOS in Army specifically, whereas he's about 10 probes behind, which is why the supply seems kind of close. But if you look at the composition, we have actually an additional Mortal here, but 2 additional Archons for SOS.
Okay, a lot of this is going to come down to the angling here. The 2 armies here. We have a really nice spread here for SOS, which is going to give him a sick concave. Look at how the Archons are even spaced out like that. And we have another warp coming in here. Time warp, Nexus cannon now triggered.
Not the best time warp, but you know what? He does get to pick off a free Immortal there, and there was 1 additional Immortal for Ruin. And SOS starting to punch through, Tasteless.
Yep, the Immortal is now getting hit over here in the front. The Nexus cannon helping out a lot here. That 1 red Immortal, just now taken down. And it looks like SOS is just running over Ruin with a much better build overall once he got back past the early game. I mean, there was just nothing Ruin could do. SOS is just a superior player with a better understanding of the race and the matchup as far as we could see.
For anyone watching this that is a Protoss player, this was pretty, like, textbook amazing from SOS.
Yeah.
Nothing too fancy. He scouted, recognized that going Robo would be okay because it wasn't a super fast Stargate, and he did everything right there. He hit his attack timing. He had the forge a bit quicker. You know, sometimes the most beautiful games of StarCraft can be the most straightforward.
Yeah. There was nothing fancy, as you said about SOS's play. It was
just a very standard.
Simple,
it was
clean
normal
build.
He added his gates first, which is safer and gives you a little attack time where you are going to have more. It was just, everything about it was really awesome. That was just fantastic play from SOS. Definitely a VOD I'll be going back over later.
Yeah, it was